So what if we think about the music business, and certainly it could be any business. The music business just is in the forefront of a lot of people's mind just because of how entertainment is in our culture. If you had somebody that was in that business, on tour with a major artist or something like that, what advice would you give to them?
It's great.
From a
Yeah,
faith standpoint?
sure. Well, first of all, I would ask them to check their affections. Is how I might say it. So, what are you chasing, and for what end goal? Because here's where I would disagree with what I might call fundamentalists that would say any association with this music business is sinful. I said wrong, because there are many wholesome things within that, and I've been gifted by God to play, and I've been gifted by God to bring joy to others in music, and that can look in a lot of different ways, right? But are you looking at those things as the giver and the supplier of your ultimate joy and satisfaction? And if those things were taken away today, where would you be? Where would your joy be? Where would your hope be? So is your hope attached to success in that? And I'm so encouraged as I look around at all kinds of different professions, and some are more in the spotlight than others, but I think about some of the pro athletes that I know, and that truly do not have their hope set on their game.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That truly have their hope set on Jesus, and they can all be taken away the next day, and their hope is not shaken. And so that's what I would say to folks in the music business is your hope riding on achieving that next gig? And if so, your hope may not falter and waver today, and it may not waver tomorrow or next year, but one day it will. Because one day you're going to be too old to do it. One day you're going to call upon your hands, and they're not going to answer you. Mm-hmm. One day that artist that you're playing for is not going to get that call for that next contract. Right. And what are you going to do then? Mm-hmm. And so that would be one piece of advice is first, just measure your affections. Ask yourself, where's your hope attached? Secondly is to strive to introduce any kind of godly rhythm into your life. And that's very, very difficult. You're probably going to be a lone ranger. But when you're out there on the road and you've got a Sunday morning off and the bus is parked in a parking lot at a venue in Detroit or wherever you're at, call an Uber and try to get to a service somewhere. I wish I would have done that. Mm-hmm. I wish that, because I found myself whenever say we had a couple week break and I would go to church for a couple weeks in a row and just be around other believers, I could feel that it was doing something inside of me, because God has wired us and built us that way to be part of a family, right? And so I'm conjoined to the body, and that supernaturally ministers to me. So I think that we can discount that a lot. Well, I'll worship God on the tour bus, and I'll worship God here. Well, God's built it so that you worship Him and you're fed with other believers. And so, I believe we can miss church for things. Okay, so I'm not a legalist in that sense, but we should strive for those kinds of rhythms and those kinds of patterns, and have it be a priority.
Right.
So those would be the two big things: is to check your affections, check what your hope's set on, and then strive for patterns, not for the sake of being justified by those patterns, sure, but for the sake that God has built in those patterns in our lives for our benefit.
Right. And I think that is excellent advice. No matter what your business is, no matter what line of work you're in, you've got to do those two things. I remember when we're from Florida originally, and we've been in Tennessee about 14 years, and we had bought a piece of property, we built a house, had a good job, things changed, and we ultimately decided to move to Tennessee, the whole story there. But I remember sitting on the bed a night, I think it was the night before we left to come to Tennessee, and we had built a house. This was kind of like what we always thought we would do: build a house, have a little bit of acreage, have, that kind of thing. And I told Jonna, my wife, I said, we have to be careful not to ever get attached to the things of the world, because it could change tomorrow. I mean, we had gotten attached there, and it was difficult to leave. It was difficult to leave Florida and our family. I mean, you're from Texas. I'm sure you've experienced that coming here to Tennessee. But nevertheless, even having that experience, it's so easy to fall into that trap where the things of the world do become our security. They become our hope. They become the thing that we're most involved in. And if anybody, were just tell me that's not a continual fight, then we need to sit down and have a conversation, because to me, that is a continual fight to not allow that to happen. So again, I just, people that are listening to this, I hope they understand if they're fighting that battle, that's normal. I mean, that is normal. It's not unusual. So I think good answers and good questions.